Greetings and welcome back to yet another episode of the Daily Run, and today we're playing as the Lost. So finally, the Daily Run decides to give us a goal that isn't your mom's food, but the troll engine is like, you think this is gonna be this easy? No. Here's the Lost, try to play as him if you dare. And of course, I dare, and probably you dare as well, because he's just another character, which happens to be a little bit more difficult, but I guess I'm trying to roleplay here. But I think in general, Lost is not a bad character at all. He's definitely something I wouldn't want to have on every single daily. He's like Sweets or maybe Sugar to be more general. He's good in moderation, it feels sweet, it's maybe a nice change of pace, it gives you a little bit of a challenge. But if he was a character that we played as every single day, I don't think I would really enjoy dailies or Isaac in general that much. He's for my taste, just a little bit too unbalanced by the fact that, of course, a lot of items don't really work on him, and also the fact that you really can't afford to replace your D4 as your active item in the daily runs, because you want to get to Hush, you want to kind of maximize your chances, and for that you really need you really do need those respawn items, which you can only get in some cases by using the D4, so you really can't pick up items like the pause, which happened to be like the very first item in the very first treasure room, which is a bit of a bummer, because I would like to experiment with that one, but we have to do what we have to do if we actually want to rank well. But besides maybe just being the Lost, this run was really nice, and I think it definitely kind of fell into that category of good Lost runs, which maybe some people think they don't exist, but this I think definitely was one of them. There weren't a lot of troll rooms, I think a lot of them were pretty straightforward and pretty easy, because you're the Lost, you can kind of hover over rocks and of course hide behind obstacles and shoot through them, so that's always a nice defensive option, but also bosses and just things in general didn't really generate any rooms which I would deem unfair. Maybe the most annoying thing here was a Krampus in a small room, which is obviously something you really can't account for and you really can't avoid, but besides maybe that one little thing, there's really nothing else to go on, and we just were able to kind of get everything done, and of course we also got some obvious things to help us transform into another character, which I will address when they actually happen. But up until this point, you saw me kind of start re-rolling on this floor, and maybe this is a bit early, or maybe you think it's a bit early, because I only had 6 items, and I thought so too, but because there was a restock machine in the shop, I figured that maybe I can use my bombs to kind of re-roll that, and try to get more battery charges that way, but also just as I was going through the floor, there were just 2 naturally spawning battery charges, and I figured if I'm gonna reroll anytime, I feel like this is gonna be a good time. And even if maybe I don't reroll to a respawn item, I can still try to play well, because I felt like the run is gonna be strong in either case. So it was, of course, a gander. It was more of a risky maneuver than it really had any right to be, but I feel like it turned out for the better in this one. It didn't really go as I expected it to go, mainly because I rerolled into Guppy still and 9 lives at once, and that got me the Guppy transformation, and I figured, wait, this is where I should stop. Sure, if I reroll, I get to keep my Guppy, but I don't get to keep my 9 lives, and I feel like 9 lives, well, it doesn't really address the problem of not having enough health, and especially after we reroll the Holy Mantle, we can only get hit once. It still gives us some sustainability, it just gives us some more health and damage. Of course, if I get hit now, the game is not lost, we have 8 more chances to try again, and maybe that doesn't really work that well for Boss Rush, because of course, as soon as you beat it or enter it, if it's past the 20-minute mark, you can't re-enter it, but besides maybe that one little thing, we can just try to play well, and hopefully maybe we can acquire a score in other regards of the run, just maybe by trying to get to the end and of course not dying. That's usually a pretty good strategy. So, of course, as the run evolved, I decided to stick with this one. I felt like the Guppy is gonna be okay. Even if, if we have to go to Boss Rush and beat him with only 1 health, I felt comfortable, mainly because we still had Flight. And I feel like Flight in general is gonna be something that's gonna maybe give you the boost, but also in this particular case, because Boss Rush had a very particular combination of rocks, like the floor layout, there were some rocks which I could use as kind of a cover and to hide myself from bullets, and obviously because you can never really cover both sides of the screen at once, having some way to really protect yourself from some shots or just stay in a position which is not that vulnerable, I would say, is a good thing, and that definitely kind of helped me, I think, just stay a little bit safer and make some of those decisions which I don't think I would usually make in the run. So here I decided to stick with the Bible, mainly because I was running low on time, I didn't really want to risk it, and I wanted to do maybe a little bit more of exploring, and of course I can just use the Bible to instantly kill Mom. This is something I don't do that often, but I feel like it's one of the most fun things to do, just because the fight is over so quickly, and I think if I had to rank the fights, in terms of how annoying they are, Mom's fight would definitely be up there, just because she can be so unpredictable. The Mom's foot has a bit of a higher range than you would expect, like the radius of the foot is bigger, and because she spawns so many enemies, some of the enemies can spawn in a very awkward position and that can end up getting hit, but besides maybe those things, I think she's fine, but having the Bible to kind of instantly one-shot her, that's obviously something that's going to be really beneficial. So, of course, as I was going through the boss rush, I really couldn't do anything with the Bible, but because I had the charged, not battery, the charged light bulb, something like that. And essentially when your item is full charge, then you get some stat upgrades, which is going to be useful mainly for speed, so I can dodge a little bit better. So I decided to use that as I felt like it's just gonna do me something else. And obviously because I can't use the Bible, I'm just might as well leave it on full charge and get the benefits of that passive damage and speed and stats and things like that upgrades, which are hopefully gonna help me stay a little bit safer. And I did manage to get through boss rush without getting hit once. Praise the rocks, right? And at the end, we were rewarded with the clicker. And the clicker might seem like an item that is unwarranted at this point, but it's definitely something we need, because we can use it not only to remove our items, which is what I would say people typically do with the clicker in daily runs, but we can also change our character. So now we can suddenly become Cain or Dark Judas or Maggie or basically anything else which has health. And obviously that's just gonna help us be a little bit safer. And I feel like it was a kind of gift from heavens. I expect some people not to find it at the end, but it's definitely something that if you find it, you're gonna have a much easier time from this point forward. Because not only do you have more health, or maybe even if you didn't decide to go via the 9 lives route, suddenly you have the Holy Mantle and you have a way to kind of change your character and just, like I said, have health. And because we're going to Harsh, this is something we're gonna be desperately needing. And you might say, well, at this point it shouldn't be too difficult, right? But I would say I made a little mistake, because I tried to use the clicker a few too many times. There just weren't overall many spirit hearts on the floor, but even the ones that there were, I decided to reroll. But my problem was, I forgot, well, it does change your character, that it does remove one of your items as well, the last one you picked up. And while I did that, I realized my damage is kind of going down. Luckily, I did roll into Dark Judas at some point, so my damage wasn't compromised too much, and I was still in a pretty relatively good position. But I knew that was my time to stop, because still, I need the full charge to actually get the benefit of the charged light bulb, and I still wanted to carry the clicker with me to the end of the floor so I can actually use it for that exact property, to remove the item penalty. And of course, in some aspect, it was a good thing that I started doing it early, because there's no guarantee I'm gonna have battery charges later on. But then again, you know, I could have easily rerolled in something like the Lilith and just be stuck with no items, and that would be obviously catastrophic. But you see, something I would say very unfortunate happened here. And I tried to fight the Hush, and I almost got him down. I had one of the I'm walking on sunshine pills, which of course makes me invincible. And I also had the stopwatch, so as soon as I got hit, the rest of the floor was slowed. And I figured it was going to be a good strategy to actually beat him, and it was, admittedly. I did get him to almost 100% health down. And I just ended up maybe going for it in the very last second. One of the Coninium shots he shoots through the walls ended up hitting me, and I didn't realize this at the time, but apparently I had the Curse of the Tower, and the Curse of the Tower spawned a bunch of bombs right next to me. I figured that the bombs would be slowed because I had the stopwatch, but obviously that's not the case, as you just noticed. And one of the bombs kind of flinged into me and damaged me. And at first I thought it's okay because at least I beat Hush, but as it turns out I actually didn't beat Hush, and I have to fight him all over again. So when that happened, I was kind of, I would say, surprised and flabbergasted in some regard. I didn't really want to do it because the fight is so annoying, and I figured I had no chance beating him with only 1 red health. But I tried again. Of course, I kind of recuperated for a little bit. I went to the shop for some reason. You saw me going there in disbelief. But as soon as I re-entered it, I tried again, and luckily this time around, Hush was a little bit nicer. He didn't do any of his, I would say, underground invisibility attacks, just a lot of continuum shots, which I think are manageable if you kind of stand in the right position, and that allowed me to beat him with only 1 red health. I was able to get through it, and in the end, of course, because I still had all of this powerful transformation, I got a bunch of really good items, I was able to get through the void as well, and just kind of end in a much more comfortable spot. My heart was racing at this point because I really thought it was over. I figured, you know, this is how I go, but luckily I did manage to get back in there and persevere and kind of come out on top. So at this point, there's really not much more to say. With the garbage transformation, you can see we had a very wild ride up until this point. Not only did we change characters so many times, we fought Hush twice as well. We're using the clicker to remove the items. So it's just a very wild run in all respects. And also, like I said before, one of the nicest lost runs I've had in a really long time. And I feel like it was enjoyable not only because of the fact that it was difficult, but also because there were just so many things going on at once. And I feel like that's always a fun thing. Even if maybe, you know, we have to fight Hush twice sometimes, That's still overall, it's a nice experience, because at least now I have a story to tell. And with that, I ended up finishing in a pretty relatively good spot. Obviously not the best, but 43rd, like maybe top 30 if you without the cheaters, with a damage penalty, which is maybe a bit too high if you're playing on a lost run, but I can't be too mad. I enjoyed myself, I got to the end, and with that said, I hope you enjoyed yourself as well, and I hope to see you next time.